Yeah. Look at my idle now. Yeah. That's what we're talking about. What's up, crew? What we have here is my 1977 Corvette C3 L82 that I just got about a month ago, and I officially got it registered and titled and all that stuff. But today I've got it here in the Boat Revival by Ben's shop, and the goal ultimately is to get rid of all of that smog equipment, the bog that this car came with from the factory. Believe it or not, I didn't know this until recently because I really haven't been into Corvettes, but this thing was built in St. Louis in 1977, where I'm from. You know, it was ordered, it's the Stingray package. It's got the glass removable T-tops, which is super nice. And then the best part of all of it, minus the 4-speed manual transmission, is that it has the L82 350 cubic inch small block Chevy, which made about 180 horsepower out of the factory. The L82 is nice because it's the higher horsepower option from that year. So what we have is a 4-bolt main crank assembly, forged crank, forged pistons, so a nice bottom end on this actual block. So if we do decide, and we are going to do this, put aluminum heads on it, put a little bit of an aggressive cam in it, put a new exhaust system on it, put an aluminum high-rise intake on it, and a nicer carburetor. And what we're going to end up is probably with a 400 horsepower little go-fast, non-smogged out, really good looking classic Corvette. So let me get into the car, show you what I'm going to tackle today. I've already got a few things laid out on the workbench, and let's get after it. Okay, stage one of this endeavor is this hunk of aluminum right here, the Rochester Quadrajet that's sitting on top. It's probably a 650, a 600, I don't know. What appears underneath is the original intake as well, but I don't have a new carburetor yet, so the goal here is to actually unlock this carburetor. So do the Quadrajet unlock for the secondaries, which, if the internet has told me correctly, I need to loosen up the actual movement of the secondaries in response to my actual throttle. So right now, if I hit the throttle, the secondaries don't hit until way late. And then I still have my vacuum choke on there, which prevents these rear plates from opening. So yes, that's nice, you know, if you want to street this thing every single day like your daily driver, but for me, it is not my daily driver. This thing's supposed to be a hot rod, and I want it to be a hot rod. So before we get too crazy with getting a new carburetor, we're gonna use this Quadrajet to the best of its ability, which these things were monsters if you did the correct, you know, unlock to them. A lot of guys on the drag strip love to run them. They made good power, and apparently they ruled the drag strip for a little while when it came to, you know, stock V8 cars with mild upgrades. So we're gonna pull that choke off. We're gonna make sure those secondaries are always opening up when the throttle blips, making sure our throttle cable is adjusted properly so those things go to full parallel. Let's see what else. Like I said, this is the original iron intake manifold. We do have an HEI distributor hiding behind this fancy chrome plate, which is, sounds like it's a little rattly. Tighten that up real quick. That's better. I think we're gonna put a couple air cleaners on here instead of these, well, whoops, yeah, instead of these oil vapor carryovers. I'm gonna have to fish that out. Whoopsies. We got a little diaphragm pump here. Not sure what it's for, but it appears to be broken. Yeah, wow. Appears to be broken. Not sure what's going on there. I think that's our exhaust gas recirc or something like that. Very interesting. But yeah, there's just a few things on this that don't need to be on it anymore. I did go ahead and purchase a new knockoff intake manifold, which I'll pull out in a second, aluminum from SPE Lab. So thank you to those guys. Those guys have been a sponsor of the channel for a little while. What else? Obviously down the road, these exhaust manifolds are going to go bye-bye. The internet tells me as well that they are sought after, but again, not sexy in my opinion. At the end of the day, I think what's going to happen is this motor is actually going to come out of the car, and we're going to pull the heads off. We're going to pull the cam out. We're going to put new aluminum heads on it. Like 195 cc plus 64 cc, I think, intake runner or higher, and then camshaft with over 500 exhaust and intake valve lift, and then like 112 degree lobe separation angle, and just make this thing choppy as all get out. I want this car to be absolutely undrivable. I'm just kidding, but I do want it to make awesome noises and sound like a hot rod. So what's going to help with that too is, instead of our single exit exhaust pipe that's really lame, that I deleted the mufflers on, so it just dumps back here, but that's a single exhaust that then turns into two. We're gonna do a nice, I think, 2.5 inch or 2.5 inch X pipe exhaust with short tube headers off the block, do an X pipe in the middle, and then a couple straight pipes coming back. So that should sound pretty good, all said and done. I'm also chasing a battery drain issue. I put a brand new battery in this thing, came back after a couple weeks of not driving it, and it was totally dead. Hooked up a battery charger, and my horn started going crazy. So I got some sort of horn issue on the car as well, so those are unplugged right now. To give you a quick recap of the car, this thing has been very well kept by its previous owner, and I plan to continue that legacy. Lots of parts have been replaced: bushing, suspension, brake lines, vacuum tubes, air conditioning was added, nice tires on it, no rust, the frame's in good shape. Just overall, it's been very well kept, and you know, is a good one to keep maintaining in the long run. So that's why I want to get this motor right and make this thing less smoggy. Alright, don't judge, but I removed our Boo Bopper EGR pump, vacuum pump, whatever the heck you want to call this thing. They put these ports on the manifolds so you could let exhaust gases out of these smog heads back into your carburetor to burn them. Silly. So that's going bye-bye. And I spent 5 minutes and built this, you know, custom $300 sheet metal block off plate. So let me grab my other gasket real quick. Hang on. Don't judge me. This was the cheap fix for this operation, guys. This isn't going to be on here forever. Stand by. The old Waller method. Wallered it out a little bit. Oh. I don't like it. It needs a little bit more. Wallered. That's mucho better. Although I think I put it on upside down. You know, guys, it's not about the finished result. It's about the journey to get there. Oh, yeah. There we go. Oh, yeah. Let's see. You went like this. I don't care. Oh, oh, nope. I'm upside down. I'm upside down. Does it matter? Not really. This is just going to clamp it down. Clamp force. That's all we need. Boom. Boom. Man, that had to have been at least 5 horsepower right there. Let me show you guys something special here in a second. Once I get this guy tightened back down. Okay, so there's our smog pump, whatever, valve. You're going bye-bye. Whoa! That's funny. Where'd you come from? Oh boy. Well, it appears some horsepower from China arrived in the mail. And my first concern is this. Because on these slick C3 Corvettes, I believe to put the bigger engine in them, like back in '69, I think they put that monster engine in it. They made a different hood. And I am concerned because, let me show you real quick. If I put my air cleaner back on here temporarily, let's just say like that, with the hood, with the lid flipped. Hang on. I had to get my little brake. That's how the hood sits. And let's see, that added 2 inches? Let's just say 2 inches. That added 2 inches, and that's how the hood sits. Why is that a problem? Well, our stock intake, let me get you out of here again. We're going to do something about that at some point too, I think. Our stock intake is probably, let's see, 3 inches tall from the base where the intake runners go to the head up to the base of the carburetor. This one is from here to here. That's 3 inches plus 2 inches. Yeesh. And then you throw a carburetor on top. I think this thing's gonna be too tall. So the only solution for that is to cut a hole in the hood. No. We're not gonna do that. I think we probably remove some sound deadening material. That'll give us at least 1/2 inch. And then I know guys make spacers for these. Space the hood off the car. I don't want to do that. What we might have to do is find like a real low profile air cleaner. But this intake's not going on today. I just wanted to show you guys. I think this will be part of the upgraded build. Putting a speed, undrivable, super high RPM, intake manifold, single plane on the car. Anyway, we won't mess with that today. Okay, where are we at? We got our smog port backyard blocked off, as I'll call it. Now I have here, which is some vacuum lines, which are pulling vacuum to the choke here. I guess we could build a block off plate for that, but I'm not going to right now. We're going to leave that be. This guy was broken off and spins in place. Find out what happens there. I got this vacuum line to block. I got this vacuum line to block. I got this one back here I need to block off. Oh, and I got my piece of rubber out of there. Put a little chrome cap on it, but here's my rubber I got out of there that was all hard as a rock, dried up. Next up, let's adjust this quadrajet and open up these back barrels so they are chooching. Tell you what, this little doobie right here is hard as a rock too, so I got a replacement, and I think I'm gonna replace this little PCV port. The flapper is completely gone out of it, so we'll pop that out. Probably lose some of it in the valve cover. That's sketchy business. This is the new one. See how it's spongy? That old one was hard as a rock and just brittle, crumbled all through there. I had to use the shop vac. Thank God I got a lot of spare boat engine parts sitting around so I can steal. And guess what? They're all Chevys. Gotta love that. Oh yeah, much better. I'm currently on the hunt for vacuum leaks because this thing idles at like 1100 RPM. And I really hate that. I'd like it to idle at like 600 RPM. Okay, so I floored my floor pedal. Yeah, okay, good. And back barrels are wide open, so that's good. My throttle was adjusted properly. Oh, come here. Just used a handy dandy screwdriver. Put that back. Alrighty. I got all my vacuum spots buttoned up and sealed off. I just looped this one over here. Not sure if that's the right thing to do, but you would think if they're both pulling a vacuum, then they're not going to pull anything. But anyway, let's fire this thing up, see if I fixed my idle problem. The battery was really dead, so I hope hopefully you got enough juice. Okay, so a little bit of hesitation when you first lean into the gas, but first impressions, it's already idling lower, and throttle response is much better with those back barrels whipping open. I'm gonna see if I can get that idle a little bit lower. And also, when I blipped it wide open, those back flaps weren't popping open, so I think I need to reduce that spring just a little bit. You don't see that? There's our vacuum leak. That's what we want to idle. That's why my idle's been so high. I just plugged that. Look at my idle now. Yeah. That's what we're talking about. Whoops. Sat in the seat with a screwdriver. Classic. Oh yeah. That's what we want, guys. Heck yeah. All right, let's see about putting a different stopper on there. I got one with the check valve now. Perfect. All right, that's idling right at 650. That is exactly what we want. All righty, see? Hour and a half of work. We got this thing idling perfectly. I can put a stronger spring on it too, so it pulls it all the way down. All right, we call all of that winning. Let me just give you a quick recap. I put one of these PCV exhaust, or not exhaust, but oil carryover plugs in here. It actually sucks in some of the oil into the carb at high speeds, but I put one in with a plunger, so it's not sucking air from the valley here while it's idling. So that dropped our idle down, which is perfect. Got rid of this PCV reroute to the intake and put just a normal like snuffer filter on it. Got rid of our choke, the EGR vacuum pump, and then I fixed all of my vacuum leaks. So I put a little plug there. I plugged these two crossovers here. Put some sealant on whatever the heck this doobie is. That goes to our whatever little spring choke. And then I loosened up this flap, so when the throttle goes wide open and everything's parallel, this thing drops and lets it fully chooch at speed. So I'm pretty happy with that as it sits. Again, I want this motor to make 400 horsepower at the wheels. And, you know, if you're gonna have a hot rod, you might as well put aluminum heads, aluminum intake, a sporty cam, a X-pipe exhaust. Unfortunately, I'm probably gonna get rid of the Quadrajet and put a Holley double pumper on it just because. And knowing me, maybe I try one of those Amazon ones. I don't know. I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, she's shaped up nicely. I've been letting her run for a little bit because the battery was really dead. But this thing is in really good shape. I'm much happier with the way the engine's tuned now and the way it sounds. So, of course, it's time to go for a little test drive. As always, thank you guys for watching. This is a fun little bonus video on the weekend here while I get to work on my Corvette. And yeah, now we've got all these boats behind me to tear into, and I even have the Formula's big block engines ready to go into the boat. So thank you guys for watching. This is Boat Revival by Ben, and I'll see you guys next time. See ya!